Hello, this is a demo of BP dynamic line chart. What we're going to be doing is getting this spiral plot into After Effects or into dynamic line chart on After Effects. So the first thing we need to do is get our data in this Excel sheet ready for the plugin. You can find lots of tutorials about how to plot a spiral on the web, so I'm not going to go into it here. So I'm just going to copy these coordinates into a new sheet and write in a few cells some information to tell Dynamic Line Chart or DLC what this data means. So the first line here can be ignored, and on the second line, Dynamic Line Chart wants to know what kind of data is below in each of these columns. And what we're saying here is it's going to be a line, which is it just means that there's a series of numbers rather than text. So we want to say that the data starts here, and at the top we're going to give each column a name so that we can refer to them. So spiral X and spiral Y. So now we can save, and we want to make sure that this is a UTF-8 encoded CSV. That's the format that DLC is expecting. So now we're in After Effects, we create a new composition and a new solid. And then we can apply the effect. And now you can see the basic chart, the basic DLC chart here. So let's fill up this screen and load our data. Load CSV and then the spiralDemo. And that's it, the data has been imported. Now we're going to create an object, which in this case is just a curve following the spiral coordinates, just like in this Excel sheet, this spiral shape. So I'm going to choose spiral X for the horizontal data and spiral Y for the vertical data. Now we can see the parts of the curve, but not all of it, because we need to set up the chart's dimensions. So let's first make the chart a square shape. You can animate all of these parameters, so you can have a chart that scales and squishes if you so desire. So let's try and get the whole spiral in the picture. And the way we do that is under grid axes, x-axis, so we'll say minus 1000 to 1000, and then on the y-axis the same, minus 1000 to 1000. Oops, it's not supposed to be 100, it's supposed to be 1000. There we go. So now we want to make this a bit more interesting. We want to end up here, but there's quite a lot of spiral in the middle to have a look at. So we'll animate these dimensions to have a look through the whole spiral. We'll start with minus 0.001 and up to 0.001. And again for the y-axis. So this will hopefully give us a nice zoom out. But what we're unfortunately getting is a very quick zoom out at the beginning, which slows down to a very, very slow ending. And this is because our transition between the start and the end coordinates is linear, whereas the spiral is increasing in size non-linearly. So we need a non-linear scaling effect, which is a little bit too tricky to keyframe. So one way we can achieve what we want is by creating a custom slider control to drive an expression for our grid parameters. So let's go to the beginning and remove these animations, and we'll rename this zoom control. Now we find the parameters in the timeline. Then just grab a link to the slider using PickWhip to quickly set an expression. Now the expression we want is math.pow, then 10, and then the power will be driven by the slider. In fact, we need that one to be negative. Then we can copy it to the max parameter, just the positive version. And then on the y-axis, we'll do the same. Quickly getting some expressions going in. And then minus, and copy our expression, and then copy the expression again. So what we're saying now is that the minimum and maximum of each axis is negative and positive 10 to the power of the slight value of the slider. And in that way, we've turned a linear animation into a non-linear animation. So we'll start at 10 to the minus 3, and then 30 seconds later, we'll say 10 to the power of 3. Now, if we get rid of all of this, we should have a much smoother zoom out from the center of our spiral. So now the animation is much smoother, but we can't see any grid lines or subdivisions or labels on the axes until we hit, coming up shortly, the lines defined by the existing parameters. And here they are. We can only see these major grid lines. One of the major functions of dynamic line chart is, as it suggests, dynamic charts. So we can create an effectively infinite grid by choosing to have here a dynamic axis, and then we can choose the same on the y-axis. So what we're able to do now is say that we want a step of 1 with 10 subdivisions. When we're in dynamic mode, the grid is defined as the relationship or the ratio between the step size and the number of subdivisions, and it will keep that ratio no matter what the grid parameters are. So now when we zoom out on this axis, we can see the grid going on indefinitely. So we'll do the same for the y-axis. We're also going to change some of the parameters here, which define when a subdivision fades into existence and when a subdivision fades into a major grid line in pixel distances. And then we do the same for the other axis. So now we can see that as we zoom out, that major grid lines are fading into subdivision grid lines for each order of magnitude or power of 10 that we zoom through. So there you have it. That's how to set up a dynamic grid in BP Dynamic Line Chart. Thanks for watching.